Hey everybody, welcome back. I believe I am probably a whole month late on this episode of recommended reading, but we had a lot of time off in the past 2 months, spent a lot of time listening to the radio instead of listening to books, and so there is that. It's been kind of a hectic couple of months, but we are back with recommended reading. I have several to go through, and then I'll tell you at the end also kind of what I'm reading right now, so that if you are interested in those, you can read along with me, and then the next time we can discuss them. So let's get right on into it. As always, I will stick the book right here as I'm talking about it because I don't remember the author for a lot of these. So all the information will be right there. First up is Confessions. I can't talk. First up is Confessions of a Domestic Failure. I really liked this book. Okay, so it's so predictable, honestly, but I still totally enjoyed it. So it's a new mom. She's kind of like scatterbrained and, like kind of a hot mess. And she wants so badly to be that kind of mom that's like got it all together and does like the coordinated play dates and the arts and crafts and blah 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 blah, and she's just not. And I feel like that would be me also. So she enters this kind of reality competition show that is kind of like Martha Stewart meets Rachel Ray meets like I don't know what else, but something like that. Just something like kind of off the wall and like domestic goddessy. So she enters it, and it's kind of like almost like The Bachelorette, behind the scenes, like kind of backstabbing and, cattiness and stuff. And the ending is, of course, fairly predictable. It's a happy ending. It's not maybe what you might think it would be. It's still a happy ending, but it was such a fun book to read or listen to. I listened to it, but I just loved it. I loved the kind of like not super mom kind of person that she was. I really enjoyed like how much of a failure she was at everything. So I really liked that. She was very relatable is I guess what I'm getting at here. So totally loved it, recommend it. It was amazing. Next up is The Night Strangers, and this is by Chris Bojalian, and I've mentioned, I think, 2 or 3 of his books before, and I've also mentioned how I don't like one of the girls that he gets to narrate the book. And I can't remember if I told you this before or not, but it turns out that the girl that I don't like how she reads the books is his daughter. So I'm sure that's why she got the job, but she's freaking terrible at it. Anyway, The Night Strangers. This is about a family that moves to a like bucolic suburban area, in a tight-knit community, and the husband is a former pilot who crashed his plane into a river. He was trying to do like a Sully kind of thing, and it just didn't happen, and almost everyone on board died. And then they move away to escape all of the drama and stuff, and they kind of encounter these like weird happenings in their new house. Kind of like the kids are hearing things at night, he's hearing things, he's seeing things, and then they find this like locked door in the basement that has the same number of bolts keeping it shut as the number of people that died on his plane. So he's kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? And it's very like Witches of Eastwick kind of thing. There is some weirdness going on with the townspeople, and the ending I did not see coming. And I was kind of like, wow, I'm really pissed. I'm really pissed that it ended like that. But then I was kind of like, you know what, I kind of liked it. So it was a roller coaster of emotions. So I would recommend it, but I feel like it also meandered a little bit. So if you don't have patience for a meanderer, don't go for that one. Next up, I did complete book 8 through 12 of the Charlie Davidson series by Dorinda Jones. Is it Dorinda Jones? Dorinda something or other. So apparently there's only going to be one more book in the series. That would make it book 13, which is apt. But I don't think that that book is coming out until next year, so I will be waiting for quite a while. I love this series. Let me see, what do I say every single time? Charlie Davidson is the Grim Reaper. She is married to the son of Satan, and he's a good guy, and sometimes. And it's just kind of like Stephanie Plum meets True Blood, you know, like a supernatural Stephanie Plum kind of thing. So if you're into that, you would love this series. I feel like if you're watching this, you've already heard this before, so that's all I'm going to say about it. Next up is a Stephen King novel, The Outsider. I feel like the last time that I talked about Stephen King on here, which was maybe on the very first episode, I can't remember, but I was disappointed. Oh, it was Sleeping Beauties. I hated that book. It could have been so much better, but he just went, I did not like it. So The Outsider disappointed me also. I feel like he's losing his touch, and it irks me. But anyway, this one is about a child that gets brutally murdered in a small town, and all signs point to this one person, the main character, being the culprit. But he's like, I didn't do it. Like, I just did not do it. And long story short, of course he didn't do it. Like, you kind of know that from the beginning that he didn't do it. So I feel like I'm not spoiling it for you. But there is, of course, a supernatural kind of thing that's going on. And in this, it kind of ties back into that, what was it? Mr. Mercedes, Finders Keepers, End of Watch. Those 3 books. We do meet some of the characters from those books in this book. So I like it whenever he like kind of crosses over and brings in people from other books. But I feel like the storytelling was kind of crap in this one. It let me down. I really want him to get back to doing what he used to do, because this ain't it. So I would not recommend it. I don't think it was that great. And I'm somebody that reads pretty much all of his stuff, but it just wasn't great. Not my thing. Next up is Before I Fall. And this is by Lauren Oliver. And I resisted reading this because I knew it had been a movie. And I was like, that movie looks like crap. So I didn't really want to read the book. And then I was just kind of out of options. And I was like, well, screw it. I'll read it. So it's about this high school girl and her group of friends. They're kind of like Mean Girls. And they get into a really bad car accident on this one day. It's around Valentine's Day, I think. And then the main girl wakes up the next morning and it's the same day. It's Groundhog Day with Mean Girls. So she goes through the whole book trying to figure out how to change the outcome of the previous night and how to save not only her life, but the lives of other people that were affected by the crash and the events that led up to it. It's been done before, and it's been done better before. So I wasn't super thrilled with the book. Like, it was all right. I feel like parts of it, though, because of the nature of the storyline, were just so redundant that it was just like, get on with it. I just found myself wanting to like fast forward through parts of it. I feel like she could have written it a lot better. And because of that, I still don't want to see the movie. I thought maybe if the book is really good, I'll watch the movie, but no. So I was kind of disappointed with it. But if you like kind of like teen drama type of books, you know, you might like that. Next up is The Marriage Lie. I picked it just because of the title, because it sounded like it would be really good. This one is where a husband goes and gets on a plane, and then his plane crashes, and then the wife is left wondering, because he wasn't supposed to be on that plane. He was supposed to be somewhere else entirely, and then she finds out that he wasn't at that other place. It was all like made up. It was a lie. And she's wondering, why was he on this plane? And she goes on like this big like trek to figure out the truth. And I feel like you kind of know what's coming. So it did kind of telegraph the outcome a little bit. And then the very end, I was left wondering, why did you just do that? So the ending kind of ticked me off. I feel like this is a little bit of a, this whole list is not great recommendations so far, but this is what I've read, and it has been kind of a crappy couple of months with the books. I feel like it was a good story, but the ending kind of pissed me off so much that I'm just like, I wish I hadn't wasted my time on you. So there's that. Don't read it. Just don't bother. Next up is Baby Teeth. And I saw this one in the back of like People magazine or something, like as one of those recommended books. And the cover drew me in. I always judge a book by its cover. So I was like, all right, that looks pretty good. So I got it. And yet again, I liked it, but there was parts of it where I'm just like, this is not common sense. You know, like you're just not using common sense, which I hate in books and movies. But these people, husband and wife, have this daughter that they've like wanted for so long, you know, and stuff. And then she turns out to basically be the bad seed, and she's basically evil incarnate. Like there's nothing supernaturally wrong with her, but she's just an evil kid. And it's the type of book that makes you hope that you're never a parent because you're like, oh my gosh, if my child turns out like this, how easy would it be to hide the body? You know, just kidding, kind of, but it's one of those where you're just like, holy crap, there are some really bad people in this world. So the daughter does basically everything possible to completely terrorize the mother while appearing like an angelic little girl to the father. And it gets to the point where drastic measures have to be taken. And then the end of the book is kind of leaving it open. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a sequel, because there is a resolution, but it's kind of like, okay, I've solved this part of the puzzle. Now I'm leaving it open for there to be, you know, this other part that needs to be tackled. So if there is a sequel, I will definitely read it. But there was parts of it where the mom just acted so stupid, where I wanted to be like, that's not what a normal person would do. So the suspension of disbelief for me was just not all there with this book. But it's worth reading if you like a kind of like psychological thriller kind of thing. Other People's Houses. This was a cute one. Well, not entirely cute. It was a little bit dramatic also, but it's a slice of life kind of thing, you know. There is this small neighborhood that these like moms and families live in, and this one mom, the main kind of character, is like the carpool mom for the whole like block or whatever. And so she, you know, kind of like is plugged into the goings on at other people's homes, and she walks in on what she thought was her best friend having an affair with some random dude in the middle of the day, and it kind of turns her world upside down, and she's like, are these people even who I thought that they were? And you know, all this and that, and it's kind of like their struggle to get back to normalcy. But it also has like some levity in it. It's a little bit funny, it's a little bit dramatic. I really liked the experience of listening to the book. There were parts of it that I feel like were kind of like, well, did that really need to be in there? You know, it was just kind of like fluff. But overall, it was good. I feel like I'm being highly critical today. But anywho, there are some more books that I do like. The People We Hate at the Wedding. Here's the thing. So often these books, like, they don't tell you where they're set or anything. And then I start to play it, and it's like Penguin Random House Audio presents. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, every time I hear the British accent whenever they're reading the book, I know it's gonna be one that I don't fully love because of the storytelling. I don't know what it is. It's got to be some sort of cultural difference, but I don't like the way that British authors tell stories. I just don't. I feel like there is a lot of meandering in there, which I have zero patience for. And I feel like there's a lot of details and fluff included that just bulk up the book without adding any sort of value to it. So with that being said, I kind of slogged through this book. And I feel like, honestly, now that I'm thinking back on listening to it, it wasn't that enjoyable. It was hard to get into the characters and to feel any sort of emotional connection to the characters. So I didn't love it, but it's basically a brother and sister and another sister, their mom and their biological father of one of them and the biological father of the other two of them, and you know, the messiness that goes along with those kind of family relationships. And it is one daughter's wedding, and then they're all coming together for her wedding, and it's like their struggle to, you know, come together as a family and be normal. I honestly did not like any of the characters now that I'm thinking about it. So, this might be like an unrecommended reading for the majority of these books, because I don't know, man. It was just like I liked a couple of them so far, and I like the next ones coming up, but like, you know, those ones in the middle, man, I just, you know, nope. Anywho, next one is Dorothy Must Die. This is the most recent one that I've read, and I just stumbled upon it, and then I was like, wow, that sounds really good. It is part of a series, so I've only read book 1. I am currently on hold for the other books, but it's basically the kind of contemporary revisiting of The Wizard of Oz for kind of like a more adult audience. Not that it's like XXX, but, you know, just hear me out. So this high school girl gets caught up in a tornado from Kansas, and her trailer home, because she lives in a trailer park, gets swept up, and she lands in Oz, and Oz is not the way that she thought that it would be. It's very like run down and empty, and everybody's sad and all this stuff. And it turns out that Dorothy, even though she left Oz all those many years ago, she found a way to come back, and she came back and ingratiated herself into the palace and ended up becoming a princess, but kind of like an evil princess. So she kind of rules with an iron fist, and she is mean and everybody fears her, and she is kind of like an off with their head kind of Red Queen Princess Dorothy. She sounds fabulous though. Like, her wardrobe sounds fabulous. And if I could be something for Halloween, I feel like I would want to be her, but like evil Dorothy, because she sounds freaking amazing. But anyway, not her attitude, but her wardrobe and her whole aesthetic, the way that they describe her, I was like, ooh, she's my kind of girl. But anyway, totally loved the book. I feel like it was a little bit like, you know, mystical. It was a little bit kind of like teen romance-y, but there's also just, you know, like kind of suspense and action and thrills, and it was really good. I would highly recommend that one, especially if you're into kind of like supernaturally kind of books or whatnot. So liked that for sure. And then the last two that I read are by the same author, and that is David Sedaris. I have read, I think at this point, almost all of his books. And I just happened to come across his most recent one, and then because of that, ended up finding his diaries one. So we'll go over the diaries one first. It is called Theft by Finding, Diaries 1977 to 2002. And it's basically selected excerpts from his diaries from all of those years. And it's kind of funny, it's kind of sad. You know, it's basically him, the way that he writes, except his everyday life instead of the stories that he's writing based on his life. He's one of those type of authors that writes about his life, but you can tell it's always a little bit, you know, like zhuzhed up, which I enjoy. I mean, I feel like every good storyteller, even whenever you're telling something about your own self, you always kind of zhuzh it up a little bit just to make it a little bit more entertaining. So I thoroughly enjoy him. He is one of my favorites. So the diaries one was really good. I enjoyed kind of getting that like kind of sneak peek into his whole life, his whole adult life, because whenever you read that one, it kind of like ties in to the stories that you've already read from some of his other books. So that was, and then the most recent one that I saw of his on there was Calypso, and that was kind of more like a summer themed book, like kind of trips that they've taken, going to the beach, going on vacations and stuff like that. All of his books kind of have a little bit of a theme to them. So that was that one. And the best part about it is that, if I'm remembering correctly, I think that this story was in that book. If not, it was in a different one that I read of his. I think it's got to be this one. But he talked about how he was on a book tour, and he was reading aloud a story about road rage or whatever, and saying how he loved hearing from other countries what their favorite things to do whenever they were having road rage was. Which is so funny because I 100% get road rage really bad. I don't usually act on it, but I will 100% use my hands, use my words, but nobody can ever really like hear what I'm saying because I'm in the truck, you know, but it's like, sometimes it just feels good to let it out, you know, because people drive crazy. But anyway, he said in this story how he was signing autographs in his books, and a lady came up to him and said, you know, I'm from, I think it was Bulgaria or something. And she's like, you know, one of our favorite things to say is, one of our favorite things to say is, stick your hand up my and my. And I was like, wow, that is going on my list of things that I have to say with all sincerity, with full eye contact to somebody before I die. I don't believe in bucket lists. It's weird. But I have a list of sayings that I would like to say to people. And I just know that the situation, like the perfect situation, will arise for each one of these sayings. And I'll be able to use it, and I will say it with total sincerity. And then afterward, I will just be like, ah. It will just be like the stars aligning. That's my idea of a bucket list, is insults that I would love to say to people. And that is a really good one. And I know I bleeped that out. So bonus points to you if you can tell what that actually said. So now those are all the ones that I've read in the past, I guess, couple of months. And the one that I am reading now is Our House by Louise Candlish, another British author. Didn't realize it whenever I downloaded it, and honestly, it's pretty meandering, but I'm almost done with it. Then after that, I have Rooms by Lauren Oliver, and then I have The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, which I think I'm the last person on earth to read that book, but I was like, whatever. I don't like to read things or do anything whenever everyone else is doing it, but now that the frenzy has died down like 10 years ago, I'll go ahead and read it. So there you go. That is all of my recommended / not so recommended books for this time around. I will catch you guys next time. Bye.